In 1965, a cleaner at a modern art museum in Paris did something that seemed like a simple mistake. He was cleaning and came across a pile of things that looked like trash to him, pieces of wood, metal, cloth. Without much thought, he swept it up and threw it away. But he didn't realize that he had just removed an artwork, a special sculpture worth thousands of euros. The artist was furious and the curator was shocked. Welcome to the Sebcast, where we turn our beloved stories on their heads, look at what history might have overlooked, discover anew, and grow together. This week we continue in Matthew 12, 1-8, and I enjoyed Eugene Peterson's translation in the Message so much last week that we'll continue with his translation. One Sabbath, Jesus was strolling with his disciples through a field of ripe grain. Hungry, the disciples were picking and eating grain. Some Pharisees reported them to Jesus, "Your disciples are breaking the Sabbath rules." Jesus said, "Really? Didn't you ever read what David and his companions did when they were hungry, how they entered the sanctuary and ate fresh bread off the altar, bread that no one but priests was allowed to eat? And didn't you ever read in God's law that priests, carrying out their temple duties, break Sabbath rules all the time, and it's not held against them?" There is far more at stake here than religion. If you had any idea what this scripture meant, I prefer a flexible heart to an inflexible ritual. You wouldn't be nitpicking like this. The Son of Man is no lackey to the Sabbath. He's in charge. For the cleaner, the sculpture was trash. For the artist, it was sacred. And that story, a bit funny and tragic, is actually a parable. It shows us something very human. We often confuse the container with the content. We protect the frame but throw away the art. And that's exactly what happens in Matthew 12. Imagine it, Jesus and his disciples are walking through a grain field. It's the Sabbath. Everything is quiet. You can hear the crunch of their feet. They are hungry. They pick a few heads of grain and start eating. Simple, every day. But for the Pharisees watching from the sidelines, it's a scandal. They challenge Jesus, accusing him of breaking the law. The law, that word carried weight. The Sabbath wasn't just another rule, it was the rule, a boundary line, a sign that you belonged. To break it was to challenge the entire religious structure. And Jesus, he doesn't back down, he doesn't apologize. Instead, he says something that turns the whole conversation around. There's more at stake here than just religion. The translation we read this morning captures it so well that it hits the sting, the irony. Because the people who focused most on holiness missed the heart of it, they defended God's day but missed God's heart. We must know one thing, religion also has a dark side. It can even become an idol. It gives you safety, predictability, and neat categories. But Jesus doesn't play that game. He cares about people, hungry, tired, searching people, and he's willing to disrupt the system to meet them where they are. Jesus doesn't just break a rule, he rewrites an entire worldview. The Sabbath wasn't just a day off, it was a sign of God's promised future, rest, renewal, and Eden being restored. And Jesus says, that future, it's starting now, in me. This is not a moment of rebellion, it is a redefinition of what holy time and place mean. And here's the twist. What if the danger of religion is not that it asks too much, but that it asks too little? What if we're confused between form and function, liturgy with love, and law with life? What if, like that cleaner in Paris, we are throwing away what God intended as sacred? There is more at stake here than just religion, says Jesus. He doesn't ask us to stop being religious. He asks us to remember what religion was originally meant for. Until tomorrow, take care.